Hey, what's up everybody? My name is Logan. I'm currently a third year medical student, and as you may know, the residency interviews this year are virtual. And in this video, I'm going to give you 7 tips on how to supercharge your virtual interviews so that you can land the residency spot of your dreams. So let's get into it. Before we get started, I do need to address a couple things. One, this is not an intro to Zoom, it's not an intro to Skype. It's meant as a video with advanced tips on how to look your best, sound your best, and be your best on interview day. Also, most of these things will require you to spend a little bit of money, but compared to how much you'd be spending on regular interviews, flying across the country and spending who knows how much money at below average bed and breakfast, it is significantly less. And these things are going to make a world of a difference on your ability to have a great interview and to make a great first impression. And although we do highly recommend getting the entire setup we're going to talk about today, we'll list each individual item and their price in the description box below, and as well as some alternatives so you can check them out for yourself. Also, please consider looking into and/or donating to the Juliet Foundation. It is a great organization dedicated to furthering research on retinitis pigmentosa, and I'll put their link for their website right here. Now that that's out of the way, let's get into it. Tip number 1, get a webcam. You might not think it's going to make that big of a difference, but here's what you'll look like on a MacBook Pro front camera versus a Logitech webcam. And as you can see, the MacBook picture with the front camera looks pretty dull and sad, and the actual webcam from the Logitech 927S looks very happy, professional, and vibrant. And the webcam, the Logitech 927S, which I'm using right now actually, comes out to about $130 on Amazon and or eBay, and sometimes they're out of stock, but most of the time you can find it. And this is a great option not only because it has a great camera, but because it's incredibly easy to use. You literally just take it out of the box, plug it into your USB in your computer, and then you're ready to go. And if you don't like the Logitech, you can also use the Razer Kaio streaming webcam, which also comes out to roughly $130, which will also be in the description box. And if you're completely against getting a webcam, which I do not recommend, you should at the very least get some good lighting on your face. And one good option for this is to get a couple selfie ring lights. You can get 1 or 2 depending on your lighting situation. And this is what you're going to look like if you don't have good lighting versus if you do have good lighting. Also, both those selfie ring lights will run you about $15 on Amazon. And another way to get good lighting is to sit right in front of a window, but we don't recommend that just because it's a little inconsistent because of, clouds. Tip number 2, get a microphone. You don't need to get like a $200 standalone mic, but you also don't want to be using the headphones you got with your iPhone 4 in 2009. One good option is a clip-on lapel mic, like this one right here. That'll run you about $25, but honestly you could just type in clip-on mic into Amazon and you'll come up with thousands of great options. And here's a comparison of what you're going to sound like if you just use the camera on your MacBook Pro.
Testing, testing, testing.
Versus using an actual clip-on lapel mic.
Testing, testing, testing.
Tip number 3, make sure you have the highest possible quality internet. Now, what does that mean? Well, Wi-Fi is much slower than a direct connection to the internet, so if you can get an Ethernet cable running directly in your computer, that would be significantly better and significantly more reliable. And if you want to do that on a Mac, you can just get this little connector right here, it'll run you about $30, and you can run directly into the Ethernet cable. You should aim to have at least 2 megabytes per second, and you can test it out at speedtest.net. And here's what the difference would look like from Wi-Fi to Ethernet. And the last thing regarding connection is to let the institution that you're interviewing with know what's going to happen if your internet goes out. For example, you want to make sure you have their phone number and they have your phone number, so if your internet does go out, you can get in contact with them right away and pick up right where you left off. Tip number 4, don't have a distracting background. The best thing to have is a plain white background with maybe one little plant or one little prop or something, but generally you want the focus to be on you. And one small thing to consider is the lighting differences you might need to adjust for different times of day of your interview, especially if the institution you're interviewing at is on a completely different side of the country. Tip number 5, pets can ruin your interview. And I know you love your pets more than anything, as do I, but they can really ruin an interview. There have been so many times where we're having a great Zoom conversation, just going back and forth, and then my dogs go ballistic out of nowhere, and then I gotta go figure out what's going on, figure out why they're mad at the mailman. And then by the time I get back, the whole flow of the conversation is different, and it would have been better off if that just had never happened. So if you can, please try to have someone watch your pets for the day. And if you have any other loud objects anywhere near you, like don't have any TVs on in the background, if you have a loud heater, you might want to silence that. If you have a heavy breathing neighbor, you might want to talk to him in advance. You get the point. Tip number 6, positioning is everything. You want to be about 2 feet away from the webcam, and you want to be leaning forward, looking at the camera, like you actually want to be part of the interview. You don't want to be slouching back, all the way over in a corner, like you don't even want to be there, because what kind of energy does that give off? What does that say about you and how much you want to be part of that interview? It can be really helpful to just lock your chair into a leaning forward position so you don't even have the option of leaning back. And here's an example of what you're going to look like if you're leaning forward versus leaning backward. Also, be aware of the rule of thirds. You want to be right in the middle third of the frame. You don't want to be all the way off to the side. You don't want to be over here. You don't want to be all the way over here. You don't want to be down in this corner. You don't want to be all the way up at the top. You want to be right in the middle, right at eye level with the camera. And how do you get the camera to eye level? Well, one good option is to just prop it up on some books, but also there's these little computer stands which are also really helpful, which helps bring the camera up a couple inches so you can have it right at your eye level. And once you have it at eye level, you want to make sure that you're looking a couple centimeters right below the lens so that it looks like you're actually making eye contact with the interviewer. And again, it seems like you're going to make some more connections and that you actually want to be there. Tip number 7, tape your notes to the computer screen. This one's kind of self-explanatory because obviously you're just going to tape them right to the screen, but it can make a huge difference because if you're going to look right at the screen and then look back at the camera and look back at the screen, that is not nearly as dramatic as looking at the camera and then looking down and looking back at the camera and looking down and just showing the interviewer the top of your head for half of the interview. And finally, tip number 8, the super secret, not so secret tip, is to record yourself answering common questions. Yes, it's pretty common to answer these interview questions, like why should we pick you, why do you like this institution, how many Reese's peanut butter cups can you eat in one sitting, but for a virtual interview, there's a lot of things that you think you're doing that don't come across on camera. So that's why recording yourself and answering these questions can be so helpful, because it'll help you notice the different tones you have on camera, the different gestures you have on camera, and then you can adjust for them. You can bring your hands up, you can change how you present yourself so that you get to choose what the interviewer sees, not the camera. Alright, that's going to do it for me. I hope that this was helpful, and I hope that you feel very well prepared for your upcoming Zoom interviews. So, good luck!